Hi, and good morning. It's Gene from maverickstar Observatory. Big thank you to all those people over the last few days been making a small contribution to the observatory and some of the equipment that we're going to be purchasing in the near future, and just generally supporting, the efforts, not just for ourselves but for everyone. We've not gone to the extreme measures of barring anybody from the information to date. The website is still 100% free, and it still remains non-mandatory if you want to help. But what have we managed to do in the last 4 years? Let's just concentrate on the last 4 years. We have been going for nearly 10 years on YouTube, but in the last 4 years we've achieved quite a lot, and we've did it on a micro budget, really, when considered larger organisations like NOAA, NASA, the European Space Agency, and all the other agencies that get government funding, to get a international observatory like we've got up and running would cost them millions. They couldn't rely on the public like we do to provide the data for us, use their locations. They wouldn't be able to secure that sort of help from the general public like we have been, and that is largely due to our success. But what have we actually achieved, and what do we know? And if what we know is true, why haven't the mainstream organisations joined the same dots as what we have? Okay, so earlier on I was looking at these three charts, and I think it's very easy to take for granted what investigative work we've done to draw the conclusions that we have to this point. And you have to ask yourself the question, and where are we? So where all these black arrows are some of the warmest regions on our planet, or moderately warm. And they are also where the black arrows are on all three of these charts, in the moderate to extreme weak magnetic intensities. We know that now. Where the circles are is the highest levels of magnetic intensity, and they're also some of the coldest regions on our planet. But what we also know through having muons now out in the field is where we see the highest intensities compared to the lowest intensities, we receive in general more protection. So if you live in a region where there's higher magnetic intensity, you get more protection, and we've proved that with our magnetometers. So another thing we've talked about here, which all the other mainstream organisations haven't, is why the poles have begun to migrate in the first place over the northern hemisphere. At least we know that Canada has been decreasing in magnetic intensity, and Russia has been increasing in magnetic intensity, and as a result the magnetic dipole has been moving towards the highest intensity, that located just south of the Arctic Circle in central Russia. It's easy to talk about these things, but you have to understand, for organisations like NASA, the European Space Agency, and NOAA, they have to spend probably millions of pounds in getting to the conclusions that we have at this point. So we have achieved milestones more than what they have in coming out, first of all, and telling the general public why that is the case, why the poles are diverting from one hemisphere to the other, over the northern hemisphere, from one location, Canada, to Russia, and why we are getting more protection in these highest intensities compared to the lower intensities, and why there seems to be, by no coincidence, temperature fluctuations between high intensity regions and low intensity regions, as is indicated between the circles and the arrows on these charts. So we have done really well, guys. We should all pat ourselves on the back, and especially those that have supported the efforts of this observatory. I was speaking to Kendall via email earlier on today, and he's more than welcome and happy to have a muon detector over in Canada, and we're going to build in one of those. I said there's a little bit of a lead time because we have to order it from America. We also have to make sure that the company is willing at that point, because sometimes they don't want to release single silicon photomultipliers, which is the heart of the muon detector, and also one of the dearest components. They come in around about 100 plus with delivery from the United States. So he has said that he will pay for his muon detector, or pay the majority of that money to get that muon detector. That is some support there, guys. Not only is he prepared to run one of our muon detectors, he's also got one of our magnetometers as well, and he uses his own time to send that back to the UK. That's what I'm talking about here, guys. That public effort, and that is what has made us so successful to date. You really have to appreciate where we've gone with all this and where we are today, because we are, I believe, leading the field in geomagnetics at this point in time. We have told the public more than what any other organisation has, based on the scientific method and discovery of what is taking place in these locations. With having magnetometers in Arizona, Canada, Hong Kong, Perth, Australia, and on the Gold Coast of Australia, and also having our Trimag system here in the United Kingdom. In total, we're probably talking hundreds of thousands of pounds worth of equipment. If we was to try and buy these muon detectors off a company, well, I showed you, didn't I? We're talking £6,000 a pop for a neutron detector, and that is a bigger particle than a muon, so you would expect the muon detector to be a lot more costly. We've managed to put these together simply by, having the determination here at the observatory to learn the skill sets required to program these pieces of equipment, and build them and get them out there to our superstars who are prepared to run the equipment for us and send the data back. I would love at some point, and I know it's hard, and I know it seems a bit impossible at the moment, because we've been struggling to get muon detectors and magnetometers out into Brazil and Russia. But what you have to really take into consideration is that Russia is a very suspicious country, and anyone that's taking something from a British observatory would probably feel like they was doing their country a disservice. That's why it has been so hard to locate and place a magnetometer in Russia. But you guys know how important it is to me to get one in there, because it's one of the highest intensities on our planet, and likewise Brazil. But we also have to understand the dynamics which is happening in Brazil. It has been heavily hit with COVID-19, and they suffer from power failure. There isn't in some cities even regular internet. So we're doing our best, and we'll continue to get that equipment out into those areas. But what I would love to do is in total have around 30 magnetometers and 30 muon detectors, and I'm also considering building an upgrade to some of the equipment now. Whether that happens this year all depends on a lot of variables. What I would like to do is put all this equipment in one box and add a few extra features to it, but that is going to require a lot of programming, a lot of electronics. I mean, it'd be great if I could get a few other people involved in helping doing these things that was just prepared to invest their time freely for the observatory. We could probably get together a little plan and get a team together out that would help build these things. But what I'm thinking is something that the person could place in their house. It would have a built-in muon detector, a magnetometer, a weather station, so that we could keep track of the temperatures and everything else, even though our muon detector has built in on its board temperature device and can record its own temperature. What I'd like to do is add biometrics, so we can find out what the barometric pressures are in that region, as well as the temperature, the humidity, and we could also add precipitation, so this equipment could go outside, probably with a transceiver so it can transceive back to a master box and then communicate with the router and upload this data live to a website. Now, I have looked into this yesterday. I know it's not an easy task, and the thing is with us, I mean, we try and keep things dead simple. Like our muon detectors, they have one button and one SD card, and there's a particular pattern which you have to, once you've formatted the SD card that you've taken the data off, you have to put it back in the unit and hit the reset button. But some people have got confused with that, even though there's one button and one SD card. So, for me to make things more complicated, like allowing them access to the program so that they could input their password for their router, so that the equipment could use their router to upload every 15 minutes the data from their location, might be a little bit too much for some people. I've talked to an expert on this. He said this is one of the big problems you have with general public. You have to also, almost make this equipment run itself with little input from the member of the public, and that way you'll eliminate the human error factor. So, there's a lot of things, to consider. I mean, that would be in an ideal situation. That would be the all singing and dancing unit that we would have out in the field. But I'm happy to keep what we've got at the moment, our muon detectors and our our muon detectors and our magnetometers in the format they are. I could probably make a little bit of an update to the casings that they go in. I mean, we have built our bespoke own casing for the muon detector to sit in. It looks quite sexy, I've got to say that myself. But we could do that for the magnetometer and just keep it in the same format that we've got. And if we got that information going around the world, with 30 muon detectors, 30 magnetometers, we would massively improve the data that we get from around the world. And I dare say we could therefore give even Swarm Mission a good run for their money. I mean, a real good run for their money. Yes, they've got satellites, but the problem is with that, they're in low Earth orbit. They're not close on the ground where the magnetic field's coming through the crust. Our magnetometers are. We record at 15-minute intervals. With our Trimag system, we record at 3-second intervals. Amazing resolution. So, it could be a better all-round system. And why 30 magnetometers? Why 30 muon detectors? Well, this is the amount of detectors that the scientists had when they was trying to recreate the magnetic field using melted sodium metal. They had 30 sensors around this sphere that was spinning 4 times a second to monitor the magnetic field. So I don't see why we should not have 30 to recreate that experiment and monitor in these different locations around the world the magnetic intensity as it changes. Now, can you imagine if we had 30 magnetometers out there in the field, how much information we would get? I don't think you would need any higher resolution than that, or any more magnetometers than that. I think we could be, I think we already are anyhow, one of the best geomagnetic observatories in the field today internationally. I think we could be even better and really push that benchmark further than all others if we had those magnetometers out there in the field. But guys, there's always a but, and you know what's coming. It comes down to what level of funding we can get in order to do that. We've kept it on a shoestring budget to date, and we probably have around 150 people every month pledge a little bit of cash towards the pot to keep going what we've got at the moment. If we was going to put another 25 or so pieces of equipment out there in the field, you can imagine the workload that would increase, let alone the cost of building. I mean, we're talking $2,500 or more just for the silicon photo multipliers. I mean, we've got a lot of the equipment that we need to build the muon detectors. It's just the expensive pieces that we've had to buy one at a time in order to get them built. We have got around, I believe 15 or so computer breakout boards ready to have all the electronics soldered onto them. We do that here at the observatory. It's just some of the other components that come in at, you know, some at £9, some at £4, and because always we're buying in low quantities, we're paying more for them. You know, this is where large projects that require large amounts of, say, silicon photomultipliers, they can afford to buy 3,000 and get those prices from 100 plus down to, you know, the £40 regions. It's just that we're not in a position to be able to, you know, lay out nearly £250,000 on that amount of silicon photomultipliers. Not that we even need that amount either. But yeah, I mean, this is it. I mean, we've built quite a bit of equipment here at the observatory over the years. We've built the Luminox oxygen atmospheric detector, which works out accurately using the state-of-art technology, how much oxygen is in the atmosphere. We've built RF detectors, we've built muon detectors, the Trimag system, magnetosphere sensors, all sorts of stuff here at the observatory. So we've got, you know, the ability to, you know, take it a little bit further than what we have. But sadly, guys, you know, without the funding, we struggle. Now, this is your observatory, guys, and you should be really proud that we've got where we have through some key people supporting to the level that we have got to right now. And you can see for yourself, first and foremost, that, you know, where we are is already past the boundary of NASA, the European Space Agency, and even NOAA. So, you know, we're small, but we pack an incredible punch. We can go a little bit further, I believe. Just requires a little bit of support. And that is nothing to do with me. It's down to you guys. So, you know, it's easy, like I say, you know, to take, it's easy to take advantage of where we are right now and, you know, say, well, that's good enough, or take it for granted. But we've got somewhere, guys, further than what we really expected to here at the observatory. But, you know, we are probably 2.5 years away from a major earthly anomaly taking place. And this is the time to push even faster and harder to do more. So, you know, we should be really proud of where we are, all of us. And, you know, I've promised and kept my promise to date that we've kept it free for all. And, you know, I will continue doing that so long as we do get some funding for the observatory and keep us going. I know it's been a difficult year for us all, but, you know, we shouldn't take our foot off the gas at this point. You know, we are racing towards that 40-degree mark, and there are going to be some great earthly changes when we surpass that. So, you know, I'm going to say what I usually do here, guys. You know, you take care of your loved ones. You know, I hope you really appreciate the information that we deliver here, and, you know, the effort that some of the other guys out in the field that have got our equipment there have pledged for us. And, you know, likewise for all those people that support us on Patreon and PayPal. So enjoy your day, and I'll be back again with an update for you soon. So, as always, bye for now.